Yeah, good bane. So, all right. Let's do a short recap of the patch notes because I know as we started, some people joined in. I'll just do, a recap of how I feel about the changes. Let me add a marker. All right, welcome. If you just joined us, we're about to do a too long didn't read, super quick pass through the patch notes that we already discussed in depth, and I'm gonna point out what I like and what I don't like. Okay. This is all UI stuff. I don't care. Okay, Triss Meteor Shower. 3 power, 12 provision cost. Damage all units, boost all other units depending on melee or ranged by half their base power. This, I believe, will be a strong point slammy or damage card by itself. There will probably be decks that really like it or it's really good against. I don't know yet. We'll have to do some exploration, but I think this is a solid card. I don't have an opinion on whether it's good for the game or not. I'll have to see it in action. Yen Illusionist. The first time you spawn a unit on your side of the battlefield each turn, damage the lowest power enemy unit by the spawn unit's base power. Death. This feels like a Win Mori card if it sticks, and might be broken in some combos. I'm gonna have to try it. The very first thing that came to my mind was Megascope Griffin doing 5 damage for free. Like, I don't know how I feel about this card. Okay? And also has a floor of like 12. So, or floor of 9 to 12. Because the minimum, you're going to do 1 damage to an enemy if they have like a 1 power unit. So floor of 9 to 12 with an additional up to whatever per turn damage, and whatever the value of that is. I think this is a good card. Obviously, it wants to stick and wants a long round, so we'll see. Might be annoying, but keep in mind these are 12 provision cards. So yeah, these could be bad for the game. I just don't know yet, so I'm gonna reserve judgment. Could also be fun. I can think of a few fun combos. Erendite, good change. It takes it out of Golden Necker, nerfs Golden Necker. I honestly think this might be good enough of a nerf. It's not as interesting as what I wanted. I just think the whole concept of having more points being rewarded at the end of each turn is not very good. And I don't like a removal card that has no downside for overkill, but you know, if it gets played less, then it gets played less. And if it nerfs Golden Necker, it nerfs Golden Necker. So we'll see. This card seems like, I mean, obviously it needed the buff. I don't even have it crafted. But, you know, in terms of, will it be good? Eh, maybe. It's still 10 provisions. So this card was never played, so this is a good buff. I don't know what units I'll play it in, but what decks I'll play it in, but it is an interesting option. It's still 8 provisions, but there's some decks that could use it, especially Golden Necker decks, because sometimes they have extra provisions to spare, and this card works with a lot of decks, I think. Like engine decks, like my, Vamp decks, my Necrats are 4, and if they could be 5s or 6s, that would help them live, so. Triss Butterflies. I love this card. I'm so excited about this card. I would have been fine with this card if it was cheaper and it didn't have a boost, but this is a 9 provision card, so it can be used in Golden Necker as well. It will draw a card of your choice. Any card. A unit, which is all I want anyway. I don't want a special. So it's like a Royal Decree with a body that puts a card in your hand, kind of. It's not really a Royal Decree, but it's a card. It's a thing that puts a card in your hand, which is amazing for Operator. It's amazing for Caranthier. It's amazing for Imlerith, and it's great for something like potentially Ulrich or maybe there's some dandelion combos or whatever, but the point is, like, it always felt so crappy that I could tutor a bronze but not put it in my hand and combo with something, and this solves that problem. So this is going in a lot of my decks. Yeah, I would... To me, this is the thing I'm most excited about for the patch. Because it's a card I'm going to use. And because it's a card that's going to make my decks more consistent. And not so... Like, some games it's amazing, some games it sucks. I love this card. Like, I'm happy to spend the provisions on something that gives me... lets me just have some consistency in the way that I need. And also, for combo decks, it's going to be fantastic. It fixes your deck, that's nice, but a decree has more tempo, because if I decree, like, you know, an Imlerith, I get, you know, 12 points that turn. If I put it in my hand and shuffle a card back, I'm only putting, like, a 4 tempo on the board. The boost is very interesting, so it's 4 tempo plus 3 carryover, yeah. Which, you may play that card this turn, you may play it a different turn. So I would use this on Weavus, for example. An 8-power Weavus? My food's here. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So, anyway, super excited. My favorite thing about the patch. Oberon power change from 5 to 6, good change. He needed it. He was getting answered. Now with the Frost and the... He will come down to the 7, I think? So... Or wait. Yeah, with Frost he'll come down as a 7. And might actually live long enough to use his passive. The same change that was made to Herald and other stuff, so I like that. Again, I like changes that reduce the variance on the power of a card. Cards I play for like either nothing or like either 7 or 25, like I don't like. I want them to raise the floor of a 12 provision card to be a little higher so it doesn't feel crappy when it dies. This is a good change. I also liked Vanadane for the same reason, because I felt like giving him one more point floor was good, and made him less likely to be removed was good. You know, obviously that those decks are still strong, but I think that's another problem. The range, I want to reduce the range of points a card can play in. It's gone a little bit too much, especially the floor. V is back on the menu. This isn't really for V. Gales. This is another amazing change. I love this change. Play Wild Hunt special from your deck, or play Wild Hunt card from your deck instead if you have Devotion. So many cards I've lost games because of Gale's bricked. So many times I couldn't play Wild Hunt because Devotion, because it doesn't have reliable tutors. Naglfar is not a reliable tutor. This gives it a reliable tutor. This is amazing. I just wish that we had something like this for other monster archetypes. But I'll take it. Okay? And a Wild Hunt card is more than just for that deck. If you look at the Wild Hunt cards, so in a Devotion Wild Hunt Frost deck, this is a card you'd absolutely want every game. This is a card you want every game. This is the card you want every game, and this is the card you want every game. These are insane cards that, if you don't draw, can really screw you over. So this is a card that's very important, and so is this. So having the ability to get these specials or these units consistently and reliably from another card is fantastic. Especially when it's not one of 2 random cards, the way that Naglfar is. Fantastic change. You can also in some situations use it to grab like a Wild Hunt Rider and thin your deck, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. Herald changed from 5 to 6, same logic as Oberon. This one, I don't like this change. Obviously, Sigils is too strong. It should get nerfed. This is them showing that they understand that it's too strong. I don't think this is the right way to nerf it. I don't have the right way, but provision change will just make the decks win less, but won't make the card any less busted. It's just as busted as it was before, and people will still play it. It's just they'll suffer more for it in other ways. This, I don't think, is going to be a big deal, because the reason that you don't want to play this isn't because the power is 6 instead of 7. It's because he's 12 provision, he has devotion, you can't AA him, so you can't combo him with round 1 cards. It's a round 3 card, so you're just going to play him with a dueler, and if duelers are good, then you use it. If not, you don't, and I don't think this is a big change. I think SK would be fine without Sugi. Compass decks exist. Getty exists. People just aren't playing them because Siggy's easier. Gathering Priestess, big nerf, 15 to 30 points per game, potentially less. There's a couple of people who think it might still be a top tier deck. I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see. Scoia'tael. I don't like this change. Immunity is not the right answer to like if somebody's removing a 10 power card because it's so strong, then let them. It's already 10 power. It's already hard enough to remove. Give it Veil so it's not lockable if you really want that. But if they're using a Heat Wave to get rid of this, yeah. Fully disagree with this change. I get why they did it. I like the part that it uses less board space. I hate the immunity. I already forgot how to pronounce this. Freshenet, I think. Freshenet, whatever. I don't like, the part I don't like about this is that it lowers the cooldown by the duration of Vitality on self. I think that, you know, given the number of ways ST has to give Vitality, like, having an engine that creates other engines and can do so possibly once a turn is a little busted. I don't like engines that create engines. This is not good. And I really don't like the Symbiosis not passive. I think it's boring, and I think it's a snowball-y thing that like is really frustrating to play against. Either you stop it dead in its tracks and it plays for nothing, or you don't and it just snowballs out of hand. And just like playing against Siege is not fun when they have first say, playing against this is going to be not fun when they have first say. And it will, you know, if you don't have the right control at the right time or enough control, like, to stop it, which you can't because it has immunity, like, it just goes, it's going to be frustrating. Torque, there's a big buff. I think maybe they should have increased the provision costs if they're going to give it this. But we'll have to see. This seems like a busted card because you use Leader Charge twice at the start of the game. And then you play this, and you get minimum of 5 plus 16. It's a minimum of 21 points. I don't see how this is okay. This is worse than this is not okay. Oh, Critters, bleeding change from 3 to 4. Sure, they needed the buff. Burgess, this is a sizable buff. 7 to 6 is a big deal. We'll see. The power changed from 6 to 5, but when it lands, it's going to be 7. So this is a decent buff. This is, I think, a significant buff. So these three things will boost status NG. We have Miamon's deck we were playing the other day. We're going to see what it's like after the patch. But it didn't have Enforcers, but I might try to fit Enforcers into a deck. I think there might be a deck here that I would like playing. I don't like Ball, but I do like Status and Mangonels and whatnot. We'll see how that goes. I hate this change. I think that making poisons more instant and like auto poison, like having a card that's 11 tall, like sure you have to heal it, but then what if they're not devotion? What if they're not, you know, like Monsters doesn't have any tall punish outside of Imler's Wrath and devotion, and also you have to have the tall punish in the right round, and I don't like this idea of like every time you play a card, it gets poisoned, and this is a... I don't know. I don't like this direction to go with poison. We talked about this before. I don't like this immunity here, and I don't think this is good change, because this is another instant poison. Poisons should be 2-turn things. That's their identity. Making poisons 1 turn should be used very judiciously in a limited extent. The location is a good example of that. I think that's balanced. This is not. This is a big buff, but now why would anybody play Dip in the Pontar or even Slander? And also, it's going to be harder to hit with Shady Vendors from Melee, because now there's a ton of 4P crime cards, which coincidentally buffs this a lot, because you can play it from Shady Vendor, and Shady Vendor is already auto-included in so many decks. And now if you have 2 Salamander, which you can very easily, you're going to get 2 of these cards? Like, you can just do 8 damage? And Shady Vendor with this will play for 13. A 5 body and 8 damage. That is insane. Okay, sorry. You get a 5 body, plus 4, plus Veil, plus 4 damage. So you get an 8 body and Veil and 4 damage. That's still 12 points for a 5P card. Yeah, I know you pay 2 coins. But Salamander Mage is 11 for, and you pay 3 coins or 4 coins. Like, it's going to be auto-include. Like, or Shady Vendor was already auto-include, so whatever. Like, why did that card need a buff? I know they're trying to buff Salamander, but we'll just play this in every deck anyway. We used in Crimes, we'll be using OTB. But before, having 2 Salamander units was a lot worse than it is now, because they buff Lackey. So this is like a Peller that's better defensively used. Like, compare this with the Monster Purify, right? Compare Purify and Alien and gain 2 coins for each status removed, right? Compare that with this. You can't even purify a friendly unit unless you have Dominance. What is this insanity? Like a tech card that's conditional on you having Dominance? Whatever. I hope that's getting changed soon. That's all I'm trying to say about that. Mutant, I think this is a good change. Oh, wait, no, this is not a good change. It's a 4P card that basically has a floor of 6 and can play for 3 per turn when using conjunction with a poison. Bad change. We don't need more 4P must answer cards. Disciple is like that. Mutant is another. Don't like this change. This is an interesting change. Synergy between bounties and poison. Loses the armor, so it's possible to remove it much more easily now with 4 removal. And it's got an order and a bounty. I think this is fine. Bounty could use more cards like this, because bounty requires a 2-step dance of like place a bounty, kill a card, and that lines up. And then poison should be the same way. I like this change. It's a very interesting card. And yeah, that's all the changes. So those are my thoughts on the subject on the current patch. On patch day, I haven't played the game. I will, of course, reserve judgment until I play the game. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, check out our stream if you're interested.